Welcome to Everything is Everything, where we keep everything real. I'm Big David, and today I got Alexis with me. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm well. Thanks for asking. You know, you're
Of
my
course.
first guest to ask that back to me. That's crazy now that I think about it. But yeah, man. So today is about you. This is my platform, but it's your episode. You know what I'm saying? So I want to start off by you telling everybody what it is that you do. Explain your brand yourself.
Well, my name is Alexis. I go by Kitty. My brand is Kissed and Claw Beauty Studio, and we are a nail salon in Atlanta.
Okay. Okay. How long have you had your studio or your salon? I'm sorry.
I have had my shop for 2 years, but I've been doing nails for more than 10 years.
More than 10 years. Do you remember your first set of nails that you did?
On a person,
Yeah.
so I started out doing my own nails in high school, but my first actual paying set was when I got to Valdosta. Um, I don't remember what the set was, no, but I remember the group that it was.
Oh,
I
so it was
remember
a
my
group
first,
of.
yeah, I remember my first client in Valdosta, but I don't remember what they got.
Okay, so you doing your own nails. Are you ambidextrous? Like, how does that work?
When it comes to nails, I can't use my left hand for anything else. But
That's,
when it comes to nails or makeup, I don't know. When it comes to creating something, I can use both hands.
but you can't write with both hands. You can't eat with both hands.
I don't even like to eat with both hands.
That's crazy. So you said you started doing your own nails in high school. How did that come about? Like,
I'm a nail biter, and so when I'm a nail biter, and I was also a tomboy growing up, and I know a lot of people can't really picture me being a tomboy,
right.
but I played a lot of sports. I just was always really rough, and so when I got to high school, I was I want to be girlier. I want to learn how to do my hair. I want to wear makeup, and I want to get my nails done. And my mom was like, "No, you bite your nails and you play sports." And so I went and got me a little acrylic kit, and I did my nails.
Figured it out yourself from there. What sports did you play?
Volleyball, cheered. I played track, golf. I said played track, ran track.
Golf.
Yes.
Wow. Like, are you still active with any sports, or you just?
No. I
Nah.
mean, other than going to Top Golf. No.
I feel it. I feel it. So what? So you said that your mom didn't get your nails done because you bit your nails all the time.
I bit them, and I played sports, and most of my sports was no nails. And then I used to get my nails done when I was younger, and well, I got them done when I was younger, and they were gone within a few days from play fighting and just being rough.
Gotcha.
She was like, "No, I'm not finna keep it up."
When did you start taking it serious?
Like when you mean serious, as far as taking it from side hustle to business, or actually realizing this is something I could do for money.
Yeah, actually realizing that I really have a talent in this. Going from doing your own nails to because you said you got your first paying client in Valdosta. So what was that like, that transition, or when did you notice?
So going to Valdosta, it wasn't a lot of people. It wasn't shops that did what I could do. And so I was just always doing it on myself. I was more so a nail enthusiast. I would just like to see the cute stuff, and I would just put it on my nails or do it on myself. So it wasn't perfect. It wasn't something that I was just marketing. But I did have a page for it and stuff like that. So, but it was more so just posting the stuff I did on myself or my friends and just stuff like that. But I had some people that knew me from back in this area that knew that I did my own nails, and they also went to Valdosta, and so they told people "Oh, I know somebody in Valdosta that does
can
nails."
do your nails.
And when they told me, when the people reached out to me, it was a group of girls, and they reached out to me and was "Oh, we heard you do nails," and I was like, "I don't know, told you that." But they eventually was "We'll pay you," and so I was I didn't want to get a job in college, so this is the next best thing. The next best thing.
Okay.
So,
what was it like actually growing that clientele, going from just doing it because you like to see what you like to a group reaching out to you to do their nails to now building a clientele or building a brand?
In a small town like Valdosta, it was easy.
Okay.
Because again, like I had something that nobody else out there had. So like I was doing things like designs and stuff that they weren't doing. Like my shaping and stuff. Like different stuff that, like I said, they just weren't doing. So it was easy to build my clientele up. So it wasn't hard at all. Like it was, I could just post or I could just like go up to people. A lot of times like my networking or marketing just kind of like networking with people and like just going out with my nails done.
Yeah, and then somebody asks you like, "Oh, who did your?" Got you. So, like, Valdosta was a small town, right? But now you're in Atlanta. Back in Atlanta. I don't really know too much about nails, but I would assume just based off of talking to women and things like that, that beauty is starting to become somewhat oversaturated in a sense. Would you agree or disagree?
I disagree.
Why is that?
Because for every industry needs beauty. Like beauty is like the back door of every industry. So when you think of like finances, beauty is somewhere involved. When you think of like the movie or entertainment industry, beauty is involved. Every industry, like there's no way that you can not have beauty involved. And I think like we see like a small group, we see the beginner side and we think like, oh, it's oversaturated. But you know, even like I also do makeup. So it's like when I look at just the makeup side of things, there's wedding makeup artists, there's entertainment, like there's like makeup artists for like sets and film. There's like concierge personal makeup artists. There's a makeup artist that just like you see working every weekend. So it's like there's different
Avenues.
Yeah, that you can take. So I don't ever feel like that the beauty industry can be oversaturated. I feel like that, you know, it's like any industry. What most people see is the entry level.
Right.
Like you see me doing nails, that's very entry level. But when you get to the point where it's like you can do nails and just test products. You can do nails and make products. You could do nails and have a nail salon. So there's so many different ways to do it. But what we typically see is the entry level. And like any industry, you got your entry levels at the top and it's going to have the most people. Right. And then it's like as it gets smaller and smaller, you get to the bottom but top, where you see that like those are the people that make the most, or that's the people that do the most.
What sets them aside from that entry level though? Like the people who have reached like the top of the top, the peak of that industry, what sets them aside from somebody that is in like their first 4 or 5 years in the industry?
So, I mean, nothing really separates them. So like, it's about I would say it's more so like about marketing and again, what you choose to do with it. Like when you look at like I said, any career, any job, doing the hard work or the work with your hands, it's always entry level. So like it took a minute for me to realize like I'm doing nails for as long as I've been doing it. But I could say from when I started taking it serious or when I started actually taking clients was 2014. But when I actually started taking this serious as a business, probably like 2017.
Right.
2018 is when I moved back to Atlanta and I was like, I'm actually do this. And so when I did that, I started to see that I'm no different than a person that started a year ago.
What went into getting or opening your salon? Like, what was that process like?
Like what made me want to, or what made me like.
Well, yeah, you could talk like what made you want to do it, or like what were some of the steps that went into it.
Well, what made me want to is I was in a salon suite, and I was off Candler Road in Decatur, and I couldn't control the narrative when people came. So when I started to see like how my clientele started to shift to like, you know, more professional people or just in general, like working women, that this was their only like time that they had to themselves. And that wasn't about work, that wasn't about family, that wasn't about home. And I was realizing that my location or my environment was adding a stress onto them instead of taking away. So I was like, you know what, if I had my own location, I could kind of gear the narrative a little bit better. So I I searched for a location. I used different websites. I actually found my location on Facebook Marketplace.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. But I looked on several websites, but again, like I used Facebook Marketplace, and I used my own money, and I would never do that again.
Why you say that?
Cause I probably spent like 20, close to 30,000 opening my shop. I'll never do that again.
I mean, you invested in yourself, though.
I invested in myself most definitely, but I've now realized that I could use other people's investments and
True.
save my money.
True.
I'd rather use my money to back the investment versus it's gone.
Yeah.
And the only thing I have to show from it is some equipment.
What I mean, so you have a salon, so you have people like renting salon space.
Mm-hmm. I did. I actually recently closed it in May.
Why'd you close it?
So the structure of my salon was a one-stop shop. So when you came in there, we had nail services, we had makeup services, hair and lashes. And the space was over 2,200 square feet. And it was huge. It was big. And it was cute. But in the grand scheme of things, when I wanted to scale my business, when I thought bigger, when I said, this was cute, it pays a few bills, but it still could not cover my lifestyle unless I was in there physically working myself. And as I've been getting older, I've been doing nails for a long time, it starts to take
a toll.
Yeah, it starts to take a toll on your body a little bit. And just your health overall. And so I was like, how can I exit this? But I still love this. I love the beauty industry. Like, I don't see myself doing anything but the beauty industry because it's so diverse, because it's a $1 billion industry, and there's so many ways to just ease yourself into it. So it was like, I could be an investor in the beauty industry. I could, actually open up more locations like this, but it was very like high risk the way I've been running it.
Right.
And so trying to market it and trying to push this one-stop shop, it wasn't marketable. Like, to everybody walking in and thinking like, this is cute. I like this. Like, I can come in here and get everything done. But when people who didn't know my brand, who didn't know Kissed and Clawed, who didn't follow us on social media, who just walked in, they were looking at it and would be like, what do you guys do? And, when we say we do everything, and they would ask like, product list, you have like a service list? Like, what all do y'all do? And everybody was on booth rent. So everybody chooses their own services. So there was no like
cohesion.
Yeah. And so I was like, if I opened this up somewhere else, there's no telling what services are going to be here versus what services are going to be there. So I might have somebody that does natural hair here, but I might not have that all over. Or I might have somebody that does natural nails here or pedicures, but I couldn't do that in every location. And I also couldn't run the water lines that I went through, that I needed to do pedicures. And so I went through a lot with the owner of the space, with management, trying to like make that space work for my vision. And like, once I changed what I wanted, like, you know what, now I want to open up a nail shop, and I put suites, and all these girls that work for me, I will give them suites. And my space was big enough for it, so I was like, why not? But it wasn't my dream or what I visioned. I had people come out, I drew it up, I presented it to the owners, and I like, going into it, that's when I found out like so much stuff that was actually wrong with my building. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just go.
Right.
So
the building that you have now, right, is it more suitable for the things that you want to do? Or
I'm actually in the process of looking at buildings. So the building right now, I'm just in a temporary location.
Gotcha.
Just me. But the buildings that I'm looking at would be more suitable. Yeah.
So what advice would you give anyone that's aspiring to open a salon? Because you had a building, right? And then you start to grow, you start to want more, and then you found out that building wasn't suitable for what you wanted to do. What's something that you could, or a piece of advice you could offer to someone young or old that's wanting to venture into that space?
Never be afraid to take a step back. Like, never be afraid to let it go. I feel like that I held on to my space as long as I did because of my pride, because of my ego. And I felt like that it looked like failure to say, like, I had 10 girls, including myself, probably like 10 or 11 girls that worked for me. And I was like, I don't want to let this go. And so even when I had the opportunity, I started doing this work, like the work I've been doing, in January. And I've tried to force this space to fit into my vision. And my lease was up at the end of May. And I was actually like going through like a case with my, like, litigations with my owner of the space. And so I was like, do I really want to go through this? My next lease, if I signed to renew, I was going to be signing on for another 3 years. So do I want to go through this for another 3 years? Like, dealing with this person. When I first opened, I was like really naive to a lot of business stuff. So I didn't really know a lot. And now that like I'm a little bit more mature in the business realm, or like in the renting side, I was like, do I really want to go through this for another 3 years? Just because, for my pride and my ego. So right. I would say, like, never be afraid to take a step back. Like, sometimes it takes taking a step back to see the bigger picture. So it's like I always had this tunnel vision, and I always could only see my vision. But when I took a step back and looked at like the bigger picture, I seen like who could actually help me. I actually saw where I could actually get the money from and not use my own money. I actually saw, like, you know, what this could actually be in the future. When I opened my space, I wasn't thinking about my future I was thinking about my future, but I was thinking about my future at that point in time. I was married. I was thinking about like what my life was going to be. And then probably by the beginning of this year, now that looks completely different. So, you know, my goals changed, and the vision changed, and the business changed. So.
Got you. What do you think would be, I mean, I know you said take a step back. That would be your advice. But looking back to the process going into finding this space that you were in, what's something that you would have done differently before getting that space?
Being that I'm a nail tech, I would have looked for actual closed down nail shops. I was just looking for salon spaces. I would have done more market research. I would have done more market research as far as like looking at like incomes and seeing like what area do I actually want to be in. Because all I was looking at was for lease signs, for rent signs. And
just a space to be there.
Yeah. And looking for, like I said, beauty is a really big industry, and it's hard to find a plaza that doesn't have a nail salon in it. So it was like when I looked around, any place, if I didn't see it had a nail salon, I'm like, oh, I want it. And I would probably say that I did not like, I was just so happy to be in a space that I didn't like look at anything else. And I put all that money into a space without doing any like work to it. So I didn't go in and like do a build out. So, you know, if I was going to do a build out, like the build out on that place would have been too expensive. I had concrete floors. I had brick walls. Like, it would have been too expensive. And so I would have looked into that more before I like just up and sign. And I don't think I would do another like private owner. Like, my owner was like my landlord and my property management and everything. I don't think that I would do that again, because I feel like that I'm texting somebody, and, you know, it wasn't what I thought. He was new into owning and I was new into renting. Gotcha. So it was like we were learning together. And yeah, but even though we were learning together, that's how I looked at it. He still looked at it as, you know, I'm his tenant. What he says goes. And it's like, but you don't know.
Got you. Well, I mean, I guess it's a blessing in disguise, because you learned a lot of lessons from that. You know what I'm saying? So moving forward, you can only go up from there. You know what I mean? And so I'm looking forward to see what you're bringing next. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
So there are a lot of stereotypes, and I talked to a lot of my female friends before shooting this episode. Stereotypes of women in the beauty space, like nail techs, people that braid, or what they said, the wigs and all that type stuff. And everybody I talked to said, "Hey, love."
Hey,
Getting
boo.
that hey boo, hey love
The hey boo
text
text.
message and being quote unquote unprofessional. What are your thoughts about that stereotype in your space?
Well, for one, I'm very professional.
Okay.
I don't ever. If I cancel an appointment, just know that I'm crying on the other side of the phone before I'm texting. But I'm not really a fan of unprofessionalism because I feel like if you really love what you do, then the professionalism comes easily. But if you're in it for the money, then you will cancel because you tired. You will cancel because you just want to lay up. You will cancel because you got something else that you want to do. I do build like a relationship and rapport with my clients. Like I said, I've been back in Atlanta since 2017 and it's probably taking it serious about 2018, 2019. I have a very short list of unsatisfied customers. Now, I'm not going to say unsatisfied with the service. Like they probably they could have said they don't like the nails, whatever. But my customer service is something that I can say that people are not going to be unsatisfied with. If I'm late, if I'm going like too far over in a client, they are getting like, compensated. If
Wait, so the client that you're running late for gets compensated?
so, like if I'm working on a client and I'm running late, if I'm doing this client and it runs over into my next client's time, then yeah, I'll compensate my client.
That's crazy because one of my friends was like, if the client is late, they get charged. But if the stylist is late, there's nothing.
Now,
that
I'm not
comes
gonna
from it.
I'm not gonna lie. It does depend because a lot of times I do have clients that come and they run my clock. So like I just started that I have a 2-hour window. Even if your set if you book a set, this is your window. If you go over that time by anything, it's now going to become an additional fee to go over that time because you didn't book correctly. And it goes into the other person. And so like my late fee is higher than I would say probably most people in my realm of things because of that though. Like my late fee is $20 where I know most people probably charge like 10. And it's because, you have to pay for the people who you're pushing back. Now I can't say I'm very lenient on my policy. Like if I have a client that tells me they're running late and I don't have anybody afterwards, why am I charging a late fee? If you were my last client of the day and you're telling me you're not going to make it, I get to go home early. I'm not going to be charging and be like, oh, well, you have to pay.
Yeah.
So it's like my clients do kind of know that my policies are very situational. So like everything that you might see on my site, I'm not going to say I don't follow my own policy, but my policy is there so you know it in case it does come to you. But a lot of times I don't charge my clients late fees unless they're like running super late, or I might have to tell you like, hey, you might not be able to get these designs, but I can do something.
Right.
But I mean, I feel that I'm very professional. And for me, I'm more of a hey love than a hey boo. But I'm not gonna cancel somebody's appointment.
I think that kind of plays into what you were saying about your customer service though, because for me personally, like there's a lot of barbers out here that'll charge and do crazy stuff or cancel last minute and stuff like that. But it's those barbers that go above and beyond to make sure that you're good regardless of the circumstance that, what I'm saying, you fuck with. So for that, I mean, and granted, because again, I asked like 4 or 5 of my female friends, like, hey, what's something that I can ask? And they all like, man, these stylists up here, they just rude, or they charge you for everything and whatnot. But what goes into your pricing?
My pricing, the generic stuff will be like products, my time, and my expertise. Again, I do specialize in nail education. So like I like to educate my clients. So there is a portion of your service, if like especially a new client, with us talking about your nails or talking about your hands. Even like my male clients, I'm gonna like see, like I can look at your hands and be like, oh, you work with your hands. And I ask about your like what's your like hand regiments, or not even just like a hand regimen, but like what do you do for
hand regiment?
What do you do for your hands? Like what do you do for a living?
I wash my hands. I mean,
what do you do for a living?
I'm a transportation logistics manager for JB Hunt. So I mean, I'm really working with the computer all day, to be completely honest. But like a hand regimen, I wash my hands, I clip my nails. You know what I'm saying?
And see, like if you clipping your nails wrong, it could cause hangnails.
Clip your nails wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And so you can get like the skin peeling. You can get a hangnail.
What's crazy is, when I was in the military, I was getting my nails done type thing. I was down in Warner Robins. I would get manicures like every 3 weeks or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it's cool. I've gotten them done before, but now I really don't.
A lot of times, a lot of people have calluses on their hands. Like I'm just now starting to get them because I've been in the gym and I be lifting weights, and it's like I get calluses on my hands.
So what's something that you could do to like?
I use like a pumice sponge on my hands, like the thing they use on your feet. I use it on my hands, and I use hand scrub.
Hand scrub. That's crazy. I never really. I mean, again, I guess it's just me being me, but I never really looked into like a hand regimen.
I mean, even if it's just like you said, you wash your hands, if you just moisturize them afterwards, it keeps your hands at least, manageable. I'm not saying that everybody should have like something full in detail. I do actually work with my hands. So like, even though I'm a nail tech, my hands look worse than most of my clients that come in there. Like my cuticles look the worst. So I have to do stuff every day for my hands, whereas my clients don't. Like my clients can get away with using my hand scrub once a week. They could get away with using that cuticle oil pen, like, very seldomly. Mm-hmm. But me, though, I'm using it very frequently.
Very often.
But what goes into my pricing, I do look at what my clients do. So, like, I look at my target market. I look at what I want, the type of client that I want, and what do they do. And it's like if I sit back and pick, like, what does this woman that I want to come to me, what does she do? How much does she make? What is, what would I think? Important do I think beauty is to this kind of woman? And then, I base it off of that. If I sit back and, I do have clients that come to me and pay $200 for nails. But I'm not going to lie, those women typically aren't in my market. Now on my clientele list, I probably have like 3 clients that actually come to me and touch $200 with their nails. But for the most part, my average client spends about $85 to $100, maybe. And those are like, they come to me once a month. So spending $85 on your nails, like my clientele is looking for like, I don't want to say budget, but typically has a budget. They typically care about where their money is going. They, are looking to see like, They care. Like I have had when I was on Cannon Road, where people were more willing to throw away their money a lot more recklessly, where they would spend $125 every 2 weeks. And it was like, even though I'm a nail tech and I love the money, I'm going to be like, these nails still look good. Like, you sure you want to take them off?
Really?
I mean, again, when I start to realize that I care about my clients' money, I change my clientele to clients that care about their money too. So it's like, if a lady comes in and she gets, I think my cheapest set is like $55. So if somebody comes and get like a $55 set and they come back the next week because they're like, I think I want to change. I'm like, are you sure? Like, you can last or you can make it work. I try to like work in their budget, and I try to keep that very, keep that in mind. I do like work with a lot of my clients, like as far as like, if anything ever happens, like life happens. I don't want to just be your nail tech that, is only texting you for an appointment. I do know most of my clients' birthdays. I keep very like diligent notes on my clients. So I do keep track of where my clients work. I do keep track of like my clients' kids, like their kids' birthdays and stuff like that, because, it could be very insensitive to text them and you don't know like
what's going on.
Yeah. So like if I text one of my clients, be like, hey girl, like I ain't seen you, and it's like, oh, but you know, kids' birthdays is coming up, or it's also right now it's back to school. So like right now is the time where I might text my clients like discounts and be like, hey girl, like I know that, you know, back to school going on, but your nails. Like if they get to a certain length or they grow out too much, they start to hurt. So like I have clients that have came to me for years. I'd rather you come to me, let me do this $55 fill-in. I'll take the L and be like, don't worry about it.
Like at all, no discount. Just like don't worry about it.
Yeah, just come get it done.
Because you know they're coming back.
Yeah, because then I'd rather that than you break them, and then you can't come back at all. True. I've had clients that I had a client that waited on me. I was running behind. I had a client that asked for a lot, and I ran behind an hour, and I was like, your set is free. My next client told her your set is free because you didn't have to wait. And she was like, no, like I should at least tip. I said, don't worry about it. If you tip, that's on you, but don't worry about it. I'd rather give away a free set. Like they're very basic. I'm not saying like I'm doing the works, but
yeah.
like I'd rather give away a free set and keep a client than be like, oh, well, she don't got the money. Because again, like my clients look out for me though. I have clients that bring me food. I just had a client that bought me like gifts. I really love Hello Kitty. So I have clients that bring me like Hello Kitty stuff every time they come, or they bring me gifts on my birthday. They buy me flowers. Like, so my clients for the most part, they treat me well. So I can throw them a free set. I can give a free fill-in. Yeah. I can throw in a free design because I know that you don't have it, because I know that you got kids, or I know that, you know, you just lost your job or you got laid off. Like,
do you think it's easy for clients to try to take advantage of that though?
Very easy.
Really?
Mm-hmm. But like I said, I don't do that for every client. Right. I have clients that, like I said, I have clients that take care of me. So like I said, my policy is very lenient. So I have clients that will cancel and just send me money versus like me being like, oh, well, I have to charge your card, or it's the card on file. Like I had a client that actually canceled the other day because it started storming, and she sent me $50. Her service was like $60, and I wasn't even, well, $55, and I wasn't even going to charge her for it because I'm like, fine. I was tired. I was so sleepy. I was ready to go home. And I even asked her if she'd come earlier, and she was like, no, I don't want to come earlier. And I was like, okay, cool. So I'm going to thug it out.
Right.
And she sent me $50 and was like, it just started storming. I don't even want to come. And I wasn't even going to charge her for nothing. I was going to be like, bet, I'm going to go home.
See, that's a give and take. And I guess I don't want to say far and few, because I know there's a lot of people out there with good customer service who care about their clients and stuff. But I feel like just because of the nature of social media, you hear more of the horror stories than the good stories like that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
I mean, so I just launched a Yelp page for my business. Mm-hmm. And I asked my clients, you know, do you guys have Yelp? Like, could y'all review on Yelp? And I get a lot of people that do tell me like they only time they leave reviews is for bad stuff. Then you see like good stuff. Only time I see good reviews is on like products, like if you on Amazon or something. But like for a business, you don't see a lot of good reviews unless like they ask you.
But honestly, I feel like a lot of the good reviews that are out there are like, I went in a restaurant the other day. I was on my lunch break, went in a restaurant, and they said they had a sign up there, 15% off if you leave a good review on Google. I was just like, bro, what? Mm-hmm. I'll give you, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's people out there that
I have the same thing. You get 15% off. Well, I have a loyalty program. Like, you get points, and you can use those points to redeem services and stuff. So, like, they get points if they review.
I don't know, though. Like, so my thought process when I saw that at that restaurant, I can't trust any of your reviews, any of your good reviews. You know what I mean? Because, like, you could see a bad review out there, and then you'll see, like, 3 or 4 good ones, but you're offering 15% off.
Well, I just say reviews. I say reviews. I'm not going to be, like, good reviews. I want you to be honest. Like, I do tell my clients, please be honest. Like, I do take constructive criticism. So I don't like people that come in and tell me that they're not confrontational. Like, you're spending your money. Like, and when you really break down, like, people make about $15 an hour. If I'm charging $60 for a set, you worked 4 hours for this and you're going to be quiet. You worked the whole half a day to get this done.
That's a.
And you're gonna be quiet while I'm doing it. You're not gonna speak up. You're just gonna walk out. You sat behind a computer. You worked. You stood on your feet. You did whatever for 4 hours to pay for this at minimum, because that's my cheapest. At minimum 4 hours, and you're gonna be quiet. Now let's not say you getting something even more, because that's a full day of work, and you're just gonna take that money and just let it be quiet.
That's a very different perspective. I never thought about services like that.
I'm not going to be like, I know how much money I can make in a day. The most that I probably have made in a day is probably about $1,200. If somebody told me to go sit down and spend $1,200 and don't say nothing, I couldn't feel comfortable spending the money.
You made $1,200 in a day doing nails?
I mean, no, that's just the most that I've made.
Oh, I was like, damn. So do you have like a favorite style? I don't know how nails work. Like a favorite style of nails to do? Like, what's your favorite?
I'd probably say right now, I'd probably be French tip. French. I know it's very basic, but it's just very timeless. It's very classy. You can do different styles of French, different types.
The white tip, right? Yeah. See? I be knowing.
It used to be ombre though, but
the blend of colors. See?
You did your research. I like
did.
that.
You know what I mean? The ombre. Why was that a thing? Like, why was that a favorite for you at one point?
I like classy nails. Like, I feel like that we do see like nail techs that talk about like, oh, you guys are getting short and boring nails. Well, I don't know. I just find something cute about classy nails, about clean nails. Like, I find it really cute. So, like, if somebody comes to me and be like, ugh, I just want to, should I add something to this? I'm like, don't ask me, because I'll tell you don't.
Yeah.
Like, when I first got to Valdosta, my nails are very plain. Like, I always wear like a basic. If anybody, like any of my clients see my nails, this was for Beyonce. That's why I don't have a voice, because of Beyonce.
Oh,
but
how was that?
It was amazing.
I've been seeing like when Beyonce came to town, Atlanta social media was just Beyonce. It took the city by flood.
Most definitely. She has that spirit.
That spirit. So you're definitely the Beehive.
Most definitely.
Beyonce
can't do no wrong in my heart.
That is crazy that people talk about this woman like that. Like I mean, she's a beautiful woman. She has a great music catalog. Don't get
me wrong. There's projects that I'm not really the most fond of, but she can't do any wrong.
She cannot do any wrong. It's crazy.
No.
You wore a hat.
I didn't wear a hat. No.
I feel like, well, Renaissance is the theme, I guess, but like
my sister had a hat.
You wore silver?
Yeah, I had on like a little diamond top, and I had on jeans. I had diamonds on them.
Sheesh, y'all folks went out for that. That's wild.
That's typically how I dress though on a regular. I'm a very glittery person, so.
Glittery person.
Mm-hmm. I very much thought about just wearing something in my closet, because I'm pretty sure I already have something adequate enough for. I already have a cowgirl hat and cowboy boots. So I was like, I could have wore that.
What I about to say? I've never been to a concert before.
Really? That was my second. I went to Dirk.
Who was the first? Oh, Dirk. How was that?
Okay, I take that back. This was technically my third, but I went to Chris Brown when I was like a child.
That don't count.
Yeah, I was like 11.
Who took you to a Chris Brown concert at 11?
I went with my best friend at the time. Her dad was like a limo driver.
Ah, okay.
And so like he got us in.
That's what's up. So Chris Brown, Dirk, and Beyonce.
Yes.
I would assume Beyonce's was the best.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Nobody compares to Beyonce as far as performing. And as far as like her use of space. I feel like there's no such thing as a bad seat to Beyonce. You could be all the way at the top.
Well, the screen was big as shit. And this is just me talking from
That's why I said
Instagram.
There's no such thing as a bad seat to Beyonce.
Everybody don't use big screens like that?
No. Dirk had a big screen, but it had like stuff playing in the background.
Like music video shit? That's weird.
Yeah. It was his 7220 tour, and he had like visuals from the album, like in the background.
Okay, that makes sense.
While he was like down there performing.
But like, so people up here don't really.
Well, it was at the Coca-Cola Roxy, so I felt like that even at the top, like it wasn't that far. Mm-hmm. Like I still very much could make out that this is Dirk. I couldn't see Beyonce.
But you could because of the screen.
Because of the screen.
Got you.
But like I was not looking at the stage. I was looking at the screen.
The whole time.
The whole time. She
But,
was like this big from where I was sitting.
Dang. But at that point, I mean, I guess the experience being on the floor, but like people paid a lot of money for them tickets. What's the most you would pay to, like, let's say money isn't an issue for you, right?
If the money wasn't an issue, I'd have been in the suite.
But that's still far up though.
That's far up, but at least I would have had accommodations. I was very close to the people next to me.
True.
Like the guy in front of me leaned his arms back and touched my drink. Like I was very upset. So
did you say something? Because you worked hard for that money that you bought that drink.
My sister bought that drink actually.
Ah.
And no, because it was Coca-Cola products. I really didn't want it in the first place. It was just there to quench my thirst in case I needed it.
Got you. From doing all the screaming and yelling. Yeah.
And see, if it wasn't for him, my voice probably would still be here.
So fuck him.
And he very much enjoyed his time. He was real lit. So there wasn't no talking to him, no way. So.
I saw a couple of my homeboys went to the Beyonce concert. One took a picture afterwards like, yeah, I'm here. You know what I mean? It was kind of funny. We joked about it in the group. Niggas. But you said something. You said you were married around the time that you got...
I opened my space.
You opened that first space.
Mm-hmm.
What was... Well, first of all, what is... I don't even know how to ask this question because you said you were, so obviously you're divorced.
Yes.
How did that experience mold you or change you?
Ooh. So... I'm an open book, so this might be TMI. So I can honestly say that I experienced a lot of trauma as a child. Mm-hmm. And meeting my ex, the relationship allowed me to heal from a lot of that because I felt like that he didn't deserve that. Like the negativity that I would bring to him because of the trauma that I experienced and I endured. So the relationship itself caused me to heal a lot. And within that healing, that's what made me say I could actually be serious about being an entrepreneur. I didn't realize that being an entrepreneur is like 90% mindset. And it's mainly mindset. And my mindset was so clogged and so cluttered and so, full of, I'm going to be honest, it was like full of a lot of hatred.
Right.
So it was like upon like healing, I was able to actually like go full-fledged into business. And so being married wasn't the same as being in a relationship at all. People ask me like, is there a difference? There's a very big difference.
What is the biggest difference? And I asked that because last week's episode, mm-hmm. I was talking to my guest and I said, I don't think I want to be married. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So I'm very, very interested to hear your answer. What is the biggest difference between...
The biggest difference I guess I experienced was actually building something with somebody. So it was like when we were dating, like you have the idea.
Right.
Like we lived together. So it was like, you're making money, I'm making money. We both had our own businesses and we both had successful businesses. So it was like, it was fun. And it was like we got to buy each other things. We got to go on trips. Right. Like we got to do stuff. So we experienced the fun side of things. But then it's like when you're married, you're now building a life with somebody. So it's like the obligation to this person is different. Whereas like if this might sound messed up, but if somebody goes broke and you're my boyfriend, I could leave. I don't have to stay. I don't have to make any, I'm not bound to, I'm not tied to you. If you switched up today, I can just leave. Yeah. And that's always been my mindset. If you do anything I don't like, I'm leaving. I'm going to talk about it. If there's no change, I'm going. I'm not sticking around for years and years. I can't be in relationships for like years and years unhappy. But in a marriage, I was more willing to like wait it out. So like when stuff started going bad in my relationship, I was willing to sit there and just be like, you know what? I love this person and I signed on for better or worse. So I don't got to like you, but we still going to live in this house together. We still going to be around each other. We still going to do business together. But I don't have to like you. So.
My main point in saying that I don't think I want to be married anymore was some of the things that you were just saying. Like, when you're married, you're legally bound to this person. Like, regardless of your feelings, regardless of your love, regardless what goes right or wrong.
People always bring up the negative parts. Like, I feel like that being legally bound to somebody was different than being spiritually bound. Like, the legal side, I honestly wasn't even like a phase to me. I had, like, as a man, he didn't have to really do anything. I had to change my name. I had to change everything. After, like, probably a few months after, we got married right before the pandemic, so a few months after was the pandemic. But I spent a lot of time changing bank accounts, changing my name, my license, changing, like, just all of my documentation to now read this new name. He didn't have to do any of that. Yeah. I think his hardest thing he had to do was add me to his insurance, like, not insurance, his medical insurance policy at work. And they had already knew me. He actually worked with my mom, so my information was already on file. So all he had to do was tell them, and they literally just transfer my information from hers to his. So that was, like, the hardest thing he had to do as far as legally. But like I said, spiritually, the relationship became very, for me, but I mean, yeah, for him too. It became that I care for this person. So it didn't matter what I was going through. It didn't matter how mad I was. It just, like, and it wasn't like I had to try to. It just came naturally. So I could be mad at him, but I'm still, like, taking care of you. Right. So I'm not going to be like, I'm going to just leave you to, I'm not being as petty. I can say that I'm a very petty person. And so it was like, in a relationship, I'm not cooking for you. You're not coming over. We're not, like, I'm going to turn to the side in the bed, like, and be on this side and don't touch me. But being married, it was different. It was like, we stated from the beginning what it is that we need in order to keep going. So as long as you're giving me what I need, everything else was just like, I'm not gonna say I didn't care, but everything else, if it fell or if it was not to my liking, I was still willing to, like, work it out.
Right. My dad used to say something. Rest in peace, Dad. I always say that. But my dad used to say something, and I have to take it with a grain of salt because my dad was married 3 times. I know. That nigga was different. He was married 3 times, but he used to always tell me, like, have an A list, a B list, and a C list. So, like, your A list being your non-negotiables, your B list being, like, things that, it could go either way. And then the C list, things that you just don't give a fuck about, right? So, do you feel like in your marriage, I'm not going to say the relationship, in your marriage, do you think that is beneficial or?
So yeah, because when you go to marriage counseling, they tell you something similar. We had what was called a love bank. So they gave us, like, a list of things. So they gave us a book, and in the book it talks about different things. But you had to build your love bank of your non-negotiables. These are things that, like, I need from you, like, in order for this relationship to remain this. And so, that was just, like, our thing. But yeah, like, I can say that the seriousness is what we wasn't ready for.
What do you mean, the seriousness?
Again, like, being legally bound to somebody, being spiritually bound, being physically bound to somebody, I feel like that was a lot. Like, again, it's easy to say, oh, I didn't split my bills 50-50. But it's easy to, like, split bills up 50-50 and just live together. That's easy. But it was like when you're now, like I said, we both had businesses. And when we actually have to sit down and start talking about real things like money, we sit down and have to talk about things like life insurance. We have to sit down and talk about real things like kids. Like, where do we, like, how many do we want? Like, at first, like, it's cute. Like, when you're sitting down in a relationship and you're like, oh, well, if we have a child, we talk about kids' names.
Yeah, I was just about to say, like, some people have those conversations in a relationship.
Yeah, and I feel like that in a relationship, it's fun. Like they're very like good hypotheticals.
Got you.
Like in a relationship, we have hypotheticals. When you get in a marriage, you start to actually realize is that a lot of those hypotheticals that we spoke on aren't really what a lot of people stand on. Or you get into a relationship and you realize that it's not really like it's not really as cut and dry as you think.
Gotcha.
So like, you know, we talked about having kids. Then, you know, the conversation of kids talked about where do you want to have, like, where do we want to raise these kids? Where do we want to, like, our kids to go to school? Well, what type of education do we want them to have? This all requires money. So it's like, even though our businesses were doing good, we're both working 12-hour days. So like, you know, and it's like we're sitting there having this conversation. You know, we can't work like this if we have kids. Yeah. So now we need to enforce either another stream of income or we need to like dial our lives back.
I can see how those conversations can get kind of like tense.
And they were never heated. Like I can say that we always had good communication, but like you said, they got very tense. And sometimes people liked those. They like that lifestyle. So when I realized that like our businesses was touching, you know, $10K a month, what we chose to do with our money was very different. We got together very young. So what we chose, and it was like I kind of clung to the relationship because of what the relationship did for me in the beginning.
Got you. I feel like a lot of people do that though. And not necessarily moving towards marriage, but just in relationships in general. A lot of people hang on to like that. The idea of what was when they first got together and then they get further and further along and they're still hanging on to something that's just not that anymore because people grow.
Yeah. And that's what I tell people, like we just grew and we grew apart as we started to grow in all aspects. Like now that we're not together, I feel like I can appreciate his growth and I feel like that he can appreciate mine, but it's just like, he still wouldn't have been the person that I picked for myself. Again, like I acted, a lot of my behaviors were a reaction to trauma. And it took like actually loving somebody wholeheartedly for me to realize that, wow, he's not getting the better end out of this because I had a mindset of I'm not going to do nothing for him because like the moment that I do X, Y, and Z, he's going to hurt me or whatever. Like I just acted out of a lot of trauma when it came to that. So as we like got more and more into it, as we got like deeper and deeper and he started to grow and change, I started to realize like, I don't like this person. That's why I said I was willing to still stay. Cause I was like, maybe, you know, years come down the line, like it might go back, but I was like, I don't think I could stay anymore. Well, he was like, he couldn't stay. And so after that, it was like, you know, I eventually like just grew to accept it.
Yeah.
But
was there like a certain thing or a certain situation that made you come to realize that? Or was this all like post clarity?
I would say post clarity, but there were like, I guess, moments where I would have like, yeah, this isn't going to work. Because again, like we cared about each other a lot. And with a lot of that, like caring, like the love that we have for each other is something that's like very real. And it was very like deep. It was very serious. And so it was like we knew each other's triggers. We knew those points. And you know, there's a point in time where you sit back and say, like, you know, I feel like that our society now only pushes ending a relationship when there's been like some type of cheating, when there's been some type of you hurt me, you did me wrong. Yeah. That we don't know that like sometimes we can just end amicably. I feel like that if we would have ended amicably or ended at that point amicably, like no, it was like we had to hurt each other for us to like actually be like,
all right, I'm done. I can't do this no more.
They're like, there's no going back. Like now we could say, before like we can say, I won't go back simply because you're not the person for me. But back then it was like, I'm not coming back because
you did some fucked up shit.
In the breakup process, not in the relationship, but like, you can't just leave. You got to leave and do this and then post it or be in my face and disrespect me. And then
I've been there before.
Yeah.
I mean, just being transparent. I've been there before. Been in a relationship, and it's just like there is no going back because we both did some shit that's just like unforgivable. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, like, I feel like a lot of people, it's not spoken about. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of people don't talk about it, but a lot of those, like, college relationships end on those notes because, again, people cling to that initial feeling so long to where it's like, you feel like you can't leave without doing something or without them doing something to be like, I ain't taking you back. You know what I'm saying?
if I would have just, I feel like that if we was just like grown and matured, then we could have had like a conversation. But it was like, I could say that it was hard. Like, it's hard to sit down after standing up in front of a whole group of people and saying that you love this person forever. It's hard to be like, you getting on my nerves. It's hard to be like, I don't think, like, it's hard to have those conversations. So it was like, you know, we could tell each other like, oh, you're doing something I don't like, or I don't like this.
It's always in a joking way though. Like,
I mean, not really. Like, we was both very blunt. If I made something and he didn't like it, he would be the person to be like, this ain't it.
Yeah.
But then it was like, if it came to a situation where there was always things that he didn't feel that he could come to me about. Like, it was hard trying to come to me about serious things. Like, you know, and now it's like we don't really talk as much, but when we do have conversations, or when we did have conversations, I can say we were able to come together and say like, we were able to come together and say, you know, dang, we really like put each other through it, just to simply say like, after we like sat down, we went to counseling and we sat down and we had like a genuine talk with each other. And we was like, you know, we really did a lot of stuff to each other, and we still could have been like utilizing each other. We could have still like, I helped him a lot in business. And like I said, he helped me a lot with like, just as far as healing, as far as just being like a confidant, being somebody that gave me like a very blunt and honest understanding to anything I was going through. I could have still had that friendship if I didn't do the things that I did. He could have still had a person that he looked up to in business if I didn't do him like that, or if he didn't do me like that, so to speak. So,
you think you would ever get married again?
Most definitely.
Like, it's something that you still like long for? Like,
yeah, most definitely. I don't feel like that my marriage didn't ruin my idea of marriage. I was truly married for a short time. Like, and again, my relationship was beautiful. My relationship was amazing. My relationship was like, he did for me, I did for him. It was very good. But the marriage, before him, I honestly would tell myself I'd never get married. That was something that like, I very much made clear to him. The day he proposed to me, I said yes, and we went out to eat. And I said, I don't want to be married. I just didn't want to embarrass you.
Oh, shit. Whoa.
I don't want to be married.
That's tough.
I don't. And I told him, like, again, it was very much trauma driven, but I told him, I've never seen a successful marriage. How am I supposed to do this?
That's the big one for me. Like I said, my dad was married 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I come from divorce.
Both of my parents aren't married. Well, they were married to each other, but they're not married.
Right.
So it was like, realistically, you know, my grandparents are married, and they were married for well over 50 years. But by the time that I was born, my mom had me in her 30s, and I think my grandparents had my mom in their 30s. Mm-hmm. So like, by the time I was born, my grandparents were very much older. I didn't see like the loving side of their marriage. So like, on my dad's side, I wasn't even around them much, but my dad's father had already passed away before I was even born. So it was like, I'd never seen marriage. My only uncle that I have that's married has been married a few times. And, you know, so realistically, like, as far as family, he's the only person that I have to talk to about what I'm going through now, or what I was going through and I'm going through now. He's the only person I really have to talk to about it. But I didn't see successful marriages. So I was like, how am I supposed to be married? I don't know what a union looks like. Only union, like, I've seen my parents when they were like together, but my situation with my ex didn't look like theirs. Like, my dad had kids. So like I felt like that my mom's relationship like centered around her being a stepmom. So like, you know, I knew that, but I don't know how I didn't see the workings. Like, you know, in a lot of Black households, we're not shown.
You don't see it at all.
We're not shown the inner workings of our parents' relationships. We're not shown the inner workings of how a house is ran. So it was like talking about building that with somebody.
I wonder why though. Like, why is it so taboo? You know what I mean?
I mean, because like our parents are not like like money is a very difficult conversation, and it's even 10 times more difficult when you don't have it. So it's like, you know, and that's what anybody, like that's even still a truth now. Like people are scared of money when they don't got it. They're scared to talk about it or whatever. So it's like when your parents, so I remember like me and my brother and sister, like we made a budget for my mom who was younger. She was like, you know what? She makes this much an hour. She works this many hours a week. This is how much taxes take out. So maybe if we come through and help her with the budget, we'll be able to like have more, do more. We can actually help her save. Yeah. We was like really good in math. So I thought maybe this would be something. And my mom shut it down quickly with a quickness. So like, you know, it's like money is a scary topic and it's way scarier when you don't have it. Yeah. So it's like we don't, and a lot of us, like even growing up thinking that we might have had it, you realize is that, you know, once you start putting numbers on it and looking at it on paper, like a lot of Black parents don't want to talk about it, especially like when you talk about end of life conversations. So it's like a lot of them don't want to have those conversations because they simply don't have it.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, and again, this is post clarity for me as well, just going through life. I feel like it would be beneficial for the next generation to be not involved in those conversations, but hear the conversation. You know what I mean? So they could understand. Because
I did not learn until I was divorced how many bills I had to pay. I think I called my ex crying and was like, you paid all of these bills?
Yeah.
Like, because I literally went from, I lived with my mom and I moved into a college apartment in Valdosta and they were all inclusive.
True.
And so then I went
from. Valdosta spoiled you.
It spoiled me. And so then, like, after I left Valdosta, I moved in with my ex. And he paid for everything. I didn't pay for anything. We moved into a house together. He paid everything. And I used to think that I was doing something because I think I paid our phone bill and our, like, Wi-Fi bill. I used to be like, oh, I have bills to pay. And then, like, when he opened his business, I was like, I told him I'll pay half of the rent. So that way he had, like, money to actually, like,
funnel through his business.
Yeah. And that was probably the most that I paid. So the most that I ever paid in my relationship, bill wise, was probably like $800-900.
What?
So when we left each other, I was boo-hooing. I was like, okay, so I got to pay rent, lights, water, gas. All right, bet, phone bill. Then I was like, all right, car note, car insurance. I'm like, oh my God.
That shit adds up.
And then I was like, I was divorced before I turned 26. So, like, I'm back on my mom's insurance. And then that went away. And I was like, oh, my God. Like, I have to pay
that, too.
I was like, I have to pay for all of this stuff. Like, I called him and I was boo-hooing. And then not to mention, like, I have shop bills. So, that all doubled. Like, I have shop, you know, bills, electricity. Mm-hmm. Then I got supply charges. Like, I had all this stuff on top of, like, websites. I got, like, ads and marketing.
Overhead was crazy.
So making $10,000 a month when I didn't have no bills to pay was amazing. $10,000 when I had bills.
Don't go as far.
I was so, and then it was like, you know, you would think like, okay, my personal bills probably was like 3 to 4.
Right.
The shop took like was way more. It was like double that, way more than double that. So I was done. I was like, oh my God, like. It was like, you ever seen like that little tip that's on it? Be like, damn. I was like, I'm so fed up with bills. And then having to pay them by myself, like it was a very big, and I'm talking to my mom about it, like, we never, like, you had all these bills with 3 kids?
So knowing that now, because it's a very, I guess you could say, cliche topic of women saying, they shouldn't have to pay any bills. But knowing what you know now and living through not paying bills.
I want to go back to that. I don't know why we fought for women's rights. I want to go back.
Oh my God.
I wish that our grandmothers never did that. Why would you do that? I want to be a housewife. I want to sit in the house. I don't want to do anything. I'm just joking.
Nah.
But, I mean, I will never say that I'll never go 50-50 because I did. But, I mean, I'm going to be honest. In every situation I've been in, even after my husband, I've never paid bills. So, like, once somebody, like, comes into, like, my space, they was, like, paying my stuff for me. So, like, but again, I've never been the person to say that I would not do it. It's very situational. But I feel like that, you know, we're having rest of our life conversations with people that are not trying to, like, actually pursue us. I'm not having certain conversations with somebody that's not trying to be my husband. So it's like, why am I talking about what I'm going to do with you in a household that we're not going to share?
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
So, like, that's like we're sitting down and you're asking me about, like, plans with my children. You're getting mad about my response. When who's to even say I'm going to have kids with you? Who's to even say that we're going to share a household together? So I'm not talking to you about this stuff. This is conversations that are strictly reserved for someone with the intention of becoming my husband.
How do you know somebody has those intentions if they don't, like, voice it?
They voice it. Like, they voice it. If you meet somebody and somebody takes you on a first, that's most definitely not a first date conversation.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But
Absolutely
like, if
not.
somebody meets you and they pursue you, you find out their intentions there. So if somebody tells me their intention is to, like, have fun, live it up, if we have this conversation, the conversation is merely in friendly chat.
Yeah.
If, you know, somebody tells me that they're trying to be my boyfriend or one day wanting to be my husband, then the conversation is a little bit more serious. It's a little bit more in depth. I'll explain myself. I'll go in depth with it. I'm not going in depth with somebody if we're having a friendly chat. If somebody asks me, am I going 50-50? My quick answer with a friendly chat will be no, because I experienced what it was to not do it. Now, if my man ever came to me and asked me, like, pay it, you know, that's different. Now, if the conversation with somebody it's actually trying to date me, if they ask me would I go 50-50, the answer would be yes. If need be, my goal is not to do that.
Right.
I would never enter a situation paying 50-50, but, you know.
That's real.
So,
Do you think being married and divorced made it, like, harder to date, or were you scared to date?
scared, yes. And harder for me, yes. For the people I'm dating, no. Men, niggas is niggas. Niggas would date me if I was 9 months pregnant.
Wow.
So,
That's crazy.
I mean, that's the truth.
Let's not say niggas, because not all niggas.
Not all, but there's still some that are most definitely trying to hit you up. So me, I could tell people that I'm married and they gonna still, like, try to slide. So it didn't really matter. But, like, it wasn't hard as far as me finding people.
Yeah.
But it was hard as far as, like, knowing that I had somebody that, like, would stop everything for me. And then now to, like, try to date somebody was hard. Like,
I can imagine starting from scratch isn't easy. Like,
it wasn't. Like, my friends heard me complaining. Like, even now, like, I haven't been in a serious relationship since my marriage. Because, like, now that showed me more so what I want. Mm-hmm. And I'm very quick to weed people out. So.
But, like, going from being married and then now having to date and sift through people, like, oh, what do you do for a living? Or, like, oh,
I love those conversations.
Really?
I like the little beginning conversations. People are so nice in the beginning.
And then what? They're not.
I mean, you know, then you start to actually see how they live their life and you be disgusted.
I mean, we are in Atlanta. That shit happens. But I asked everybody on my show this question. If you had 3 wishes right now, what would they be?
Can I get, like, categories? Like 3 wishes in business, 3 wishes in part. You
In
know
life.
what? In life. Okay.
Your life right now, you have 3 wishes. What would they be?
Wish number 1, I want my husband. You know, I said it, I want my family. I want a family. That's my biggest thing. I want a husband and kids.
Can I add something in your wish?
What?
A successful and healthy family.
Very true.
There you go.
I'll just take healthy. I'll be with my family. We could be poor.
Well, when I say successful, I mean like.
But my family. Second wish. I would say business-wise, I would want a nail salon chain. I want to chain a nail salon.
Chain nail salon. Okay.
And third, I would say generational wealth / breaking the generational curse. Like it's a big fear of mine for my kids to grow up and endure the same things that I did. Like, I don't want my kids to grow up and be like, you was my role model, because I don't want to be your role model. I don't want you to look at me and be like, that's the life I want to live. Like, I want you to be like, I want you to like stand up on my back and build something better. I don't want you to look at me and be like, that's what I aspire to be. So.
That's real. I love all three of those wishes. Well, I appreciate you for coming to be on my show. You know what I'm saying? I enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you.
I learned some stuff. You know what I mean? And I'm wishing you more blessings and more opportunities with your next ventures, your next salon space, all of that good stuff. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
No problem. Just like that, it's a wrap.